you're an atheist, you're going to say, well, I don't believe in a creator, so I need to explain it through fictitious forces and fudge factors and hypothetical assumptions. That's what's going on here, isn't it? The thing is, what you have to start with is which premise makes sense. Is it that we as humans, we recognize inherently that there is a creator, because I can't create this shoe didn't come out from nowhere, let alone me with a cell. One human cell is more complicated than my shoe, in it. Even at the base level, they say it's like a city. So if it's not possible for my shoe, then it's not possible for me, or even greater than me, the heavens and the earth, in it. So if we understand that, that's one proposition we're given. The other proposition is pure chaos, pure randomness, which by its very definition, by the very observation you're making, me and your heads are in the same place, our arms are in the same place, our feet are in the same place, our nose is in the same place. That's not random anymore, innit? That's clear intent. Do you understand that?
So do you believe in there's a creator?
Well, I'm myself, I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Okay. So in the Quran it mentions that أَمْ خُلُقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمَ الْخَالِقُونَ أَمْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. Did mankind come from nothing, or did he create himself? Or did mankind come from nothing, or did they create himself? Or did they create the heavens and the earth? Those who disbelieve have no firm belief, okay? From the examples that he's given about the shoe, that shoe, would you affirm a creator for it or not?
Of course.
Why of course? Mathematically there's a possibility. If we're talking mathematics and all of these kind of theoretical things that people invoke when it comes to the cosmology, we can invoke it for the shoe. But your common sense and your pure intuition would say, no, that has to have a creator. Okay, now we are more complex than that. So, and the heavens and the earth, the alternation of the heavens and the earth, you know it's Sunday today. How do we know that? Why? Because the sun has risen and set a number of times that we can calculate our days, our months, our years, based upon, all of this is order. Okay, and this is an assumption for science. This is from the philosophy of science, an assumption. That there's an assumption that yes, we live in a real world, an observable world, and that we can make observations and that we can explain these observations rationally. This is the basis of the scientific method. Otherwise, the scientific method, what does it rest upon? It relies upon there being order in the world. Okay, so this order now, either it's a product of matter just creating itself to be like a shoe, or it's a product of knowledge, will, and power. So for those people that would bend over backwards and do gymnastics to try and say, well, no, absolute materialism, only matter exists, there's no such thing as like a knowledgeable creator or anything like that, they would do anything to just uphold the idea of materialism. Okay, but you, just from your basic intuition, you would reject it for that shoe. If I had a prior religious belief or prior philosophical belief that there is no such thing as shoe designers, that's my belief. My philosophical belief, there's no such thing as shoe. Do you think I couldn't explain your shoe or his shoe using mathematics, using different formulas and different things? Of course you can come up with an explanation, but how powerful, how much weight can that explanation bear? So of course people are going to say, and unfortunately most of these the top academics, they do have these beliefs, they do have these assumptions, but yet you're not told that the person who comes up with these beliefs has or these theories has a prior conviction to materialism. When Edward Hubble saw these results that seemed to point to the Earth being at the center of the universe, he said, how disgusting is this? How horrible. He was horrified by it.
Lawrence Krauss,
and Lawrence Krauss even. But even Edward Hubble, when he sees this, you'll see there's quotes by him that he mentions that this thing is shocking, it's horrifying to see this. Why is it horrifying? That's an emotion. Your emotion shouldn't come into the actual hardcore science. So now this is why he went away, put in the fudge factors, restructured his model and restructured his explanations to now fit, to allow this. So what's happened is many people, Muslim or non-Muslim, they've basically come at the question of God's existence, or is religion true, or and stuff like that. They've come at it from a purely materialist worldview. They themselves may not be materialists, okay? But they've adopted this baggage and they've looked at this subject based upon that worldview. That's why when the brother Shamsi mentioned the order of the creation of the universe in the Quran, you said it's wrong. You never said that it opposes materialist view, or you said it's wrong. Why? Because it's a sleight of hand trick. What they've told you as theoretical physics and theoretical cosmology, you've taken that as fact, hardcore science, when it's not. Hardcore science is the chemistry that we get our paracetamols or whatever. That's the hardcore science. But when it comes to explaining what happened 13.7 billion years ago and stuff, this is not the hardcore science. This is not science. Okay, this is explanation. This is somebody's explanation. Now their explanation is guided by their prior assumptions. And if you don't understand their prior assumptions, you won't understand their conclusions. So that's what I'm saying. Tafadhal akhi, go on.
Is that clear, yeah?
Yeah, it's clear, but like, speaking of theoretical science, you know, evolution, right? Do you like take it as like somewhat fact, or you just completely dismiss it?
Okay, again, there's a prior assumption within all of these subjects to to do away with a rational, a knowledgeable, powerful, willful creator. If there's an assumption that there's no creator, then obviously no matter what field it's going to be in, if they're producing these theories, then of course their beliefs are going to be in it. Whether it's evolution and biology, whether it's cosmology, all of these things. So we have to first identify: is there a creator or not? Okay, and this is again the order that we look and use the scientific method for. That order that is evident in the world that the scientific method relies upon. How can we now then this order doesn't come around from random matter acting upon itself? We established that with the shoe. So there must be a knowledgeable agent. Do you agree with that first of all?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Okay.
That singularity couldn't come out of nothing, you know, therefore...
Not even singularity, but we're talking about the order in the universe. Yeah. Is there order or not? Is there order in the universe or not? We could not have this conversation without order. So it's a given. It's so known. And in fact, it's one of the philosophical assumptions of the scientific method that there must be order and that we can rationally explain it. These observations that we see can be rationally explained. So this is a given now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what happens is they use the scientific method further and then make observations, and then they'll do explanations. So there's three things. There's what is known as the necessities, the daruriyat, which are underpinning the whole thing, underpin everything. These are a given. Okay. Then there's the hardcore science that relies upon that, and then there's the observations from that hardcore science that can be explained many different ways. Okay. So we're using the observations to do away with that which underpins our foundations. It's similar to you sitting on the edge of that branch of that tree with a saw in your hand, sawing the same branch that holds you up. And when you get through it and your saw works, you fall, because you can't have a conclusion as a fact that contradicts the initial premise, the initial assumption, the initial foundations. That there's order, and that this order it can't come about from matter acting upon itself to appear designed. It's clearly designed. This is a given. So when you look at a menu and you see the actual writing on a menu, you can explain that using chemistry, using biology, and talk about the ink, but you can't talk about the meaning. You can't talk about the purpose. You can see purpose inside you. Your eyes have a purpose. Blind matter doesn't understand purpose. Okay? We have alternation of the night and the day. We can structure our whole lives around that. So much so that you know to come here today because it's Sunday. You didn't come yesterday. Okay? Why? Because we can structure and structure our lives around this order. It's a given. This is why we say that this shoe that has its laces, has a tongue, has cushion on the heel, all of these things, that shows to me a knowledgeable, willful agent with ability and power to make these things. So you're more complex. That camera itself is trying to reproduce our eye. So how can that be a product of knowledge, but yet we're not a product of knowledge? Now I can invoke mathematics and say this and all these kind of formulas and stuff to explain it away, but the reality is the basic intuition would necessitate that that's a product of knowledge. Likewise, I'm a product of knowledge. Yeah. And we can use maths. We can use the maths, for example. If I was to take, let me give you an example. Let me just try and remember the examples. You probably remember them as well. So if we say take now, yeah, the equation 4 minus 2 and 2 minus 4, two equations in maths. Okay. Now if we start off in Speaker's Corner today and we go 4 miles south, yeah, and then 2 miles. You remember this? No. Okay. 2 miles back. Where are we now relative from our start point? We're still we're still 2 miles south of where we started. Okay. Now, if we was to take 2 miles south and 4 miles north from our start point, where are we? We're 2 miles north of our start point. Okay. So this formula, 4 minus 2, 2 minus 4, it works. Okay. Now you have 4 apples. I take 2 of them. How many apples do you have left?
2.
Okay, now you have 2 apples. I take 4 of them. How many apples do you have left?
-2.
No,
No, none.
you can't. I can't take 4 apples.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see how it works in maths, but in reality, it works. It doesn't work. But it may work in another equation, in another example in real life. But we now can't apply that and bring it into talk about all of these things. So the maths is what we know in Arabic and from the Islamic tradition as known as sihr al-bayan. This is basically a form. It's like trickery. It's card tricks. It's literally like a card trick. It's sihr al-bayan, like an eloquent speech that's used to beautify something that's not there.
So said that as well. It's called Herbert Dingle said, guys, scientists can use maths to tell you the truth. So I can also use science and maths to tell you a lie.
And this is it. So if we understand this, and then we start with our foundations, we're not rocked by our foundations later. We're not rocked later on in these things.
But any theories?
Yeah. Why? Because the foundations.
Evolution,
And that's like all these discussions, they take it back to the origin. The origin. Do you have a creator? Before we start talking about what is the meaning of this verse, what is the meaning of that verse, firstly, did this verse come from Allah? Did this come from our creator? If we can establish that came from our creator, then we move forward based upon that. We don't put it into doubt and we uphold something else that is speculative as this is the criteria. No, we don't do that. We start with our foundations, we stand on our own squares, they say. So I hope that answers.
the Darwin evolution, like even the what's his name? Have you watched the commentary called the Expelled Ones? The Expelled Ones was the commentary done by one. What's his name? Jewish guy. I forgot his name. He's known. He's a presenter known in America. When he went to American universities, big universities, British universities, he spoke to scientists who did works to prove that evolution is wrong or to prove there is a creator. They actually tell them, listen, you have to live. So what's happened, why I'm mentioning this, you should watch it called the Expelled Ones. The Expelled Ones, yeah? Why I'm mentioning that, what's happened in our time, those who want to manipulate us and control us and turn us away from our creator, they are utilizing 2 things, media and education. Because that's the best way to manipulate people and control them. So now what they're pushing in schools, universities, science is a fact. Darwin evolution is a fact. Even though it's a pure belief. It's a belief based upon assumption, clearly. Because why? As a brother Anwar explained to you about science, based upon observation. You understand? So they cannot, one of the scholars said, Fawzan, he said, okay, how many years this Darwin evolution? How come it stopped as a human being? Why we're not evolving? They're going to say because, of course, they have explanation.
We are evolving.
Yeah, no. So how we evolving?
Okay, you see wisdom teeth.
Okay.
You have wisdom teeth.
I don't know, I haven't checked it, to be honest. I don't have time to check it, but anyway.
Right. Back like on Homo habilis and stuff, we used to eat like leaves and grass and stuff, so that those wisdom teeth really did help grind that, those sort of leaves. But nowadays, you see people that some of them were born, some of them were without wisdom teeth. And you can see that's kind of like some sort of evidence of evolution.
No, that's adaptation. That's not evolution.
Yeah, you mix it between evolution and adaptation. Evolution, adaptation is not the same. Evolution, that's why if you ask, can you give me a living example? Because what is the Darwinian evolution? Darwinian evolution, that's why even Richard Dawkins, what he said, when he was asked this question, how come we haven't seen one species evolve into completely different species? He said, due to the time. You see, due to the time, we cannot observe that. So are you telling me there is not any species, it's time for it to move or to evolve to completely different species? That's what I'm saying, okay, just pure assumption, pure khurafa. The biggest khurafa, khurafa? The biggest hallucination is Darwinian evolution. I'm telling you.
As a scientist, he actually admitted, his own admission, he said, we as scientists know that the theory of evolution is not satisfactory in explaining observations. But the reason, and this is proving the point we're making earlier about the philosophy of science, but the reason we accept the theory of evolution is to keep the divine force out of the door. He's clearly telling me what his agenda is. He said agenda is, I don't want there to be a creator in the discussion of the observation. So therefore, we have to rely upon the theory of evolution. But if you do some research, I'm not talking about like going into a school textbook because they're going to hide from something. And this is not even a conspiracy. It's actually true. They do suppress evidence. It's not a suppression of scientific evidence. But if you do actual in-depth research, there's a book called Darwin's Black Box, and that is a fundamental flaw in the theory of evolution. Because basically,